Hey, what's up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique, and today we're checking out the brand new virtual space reverb Spacerek from D16. If you're looking for really accurate, realistic sounding reverb, this is a unit you're definitely going to want to look into. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what it has to offer. It's a very streamlined reverb and show you how I'm using it inside of this project, as well as explain everything else along the way. So first of all, let's listen to the piano by itself. And now let's turn on Spacerek. So a very, very large, lush reverb there. I really dig it. The biggest feature inside of this reverb plugin are the reverb models. There are 144 reverb models. You can find the reverb models right here. This is the reverb model page. Now, everything inside of this panel here is just information about the virtual space that was used to create the reverb. The basic rundown here is we have two speakers right here, which are positioned 3 meters from the back wall here. And then we have 10 meters in between those speakers with our two microphones. The microphones are set up in a left-right or stereo configuration. You can see exactly how the microphones are positioned, which way they're pointing, and same with the speakers. Now, each one of these virtual rooms also has different dampening, different material in terms of absorption of sound, and everything has been meticulously crafted to give you a unique experience for each one of the models. If I go ahead and switch up the model here while the reverb is playing, you'll be able to hear the differences here. So if I click right here, you'll see that I have the horizontal tunnel S3, M3, left, right. Now I have S1, M1, left, right. So I have all of these different horizontal tunnel spaces, and each one is going to give me something kind of similar, but very different in terms of characteristics. So let's try the 5 of those out. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel for a second. What I'm going to do is put it closer to completely wet, just so we can really hear the difference in character of the different reverb models here. So I'm going to come in. Let's put it on 1. You can see that the graph has changed. So for example, for this one, you can see that we have a lot of space on the right side of where we are. Again, this is the configuration of the microphones set up in a left, right, or stereo positioning. And we've got a big open space to our right, and then we're closer to the wall on the left, and we can expect to hear the characteristic of that type of setup inside of the reverb tail. So let's go ahead and listen. Is that not really cool? So let's try the next one out. So this is going to be the kind of the mirror image of that. And here we're in the center of the room. And this one is really complicated. We've got a left, right, but different sort of microphone positioning here. You can see how they're overlapping. One's pointing up, one's pointing to the left. We're 10 meters from the wall on the right. The speakers are 7 meters from the wall on the left, and you can see the direction in which the speakers are pointing out. So they're not exactly pointing to the wall over here. One's kind of coming this way and one's going that way. So because of that big distance between the speakers and the microphone, we're getting a delay. And that's even before we put pre-delay into the signal. So each one of these models is going to give you different characteristics, and it could be a number of different things that are changing for each one, or it will be, in fact. And then you'll still have control after the fact on a number of different parameters, which I'll get into in a second. Let's just check out this 5th horizontal tunnel. So that one is a mirror image of the other one. And as I said, you have 144 of these. You can see we've got corridor, chapels, the bright stage, reflective room, studio, a sports arena. And again, each one of those is going to give you some really crazy sounds. Let's check out the sports arena one. So that's super lush. Another one I want to point out is the mid-side configuration here. And this is important when you get into the balance for the direct, early, and late reverb signals. So this reverb allows you to we have the dry wet mix. Something like this would probably be where we were. Okay, but then we have the balance and the volume for the direct signal. This is the signal that comes out of the speaker directly into the microphone. It's almost like a dry signal, but it actually takes time to get from the speaker to the microphone. So if you have like 50-50, you're doing something parallel, you really boost up the direct signal, turn everything else down. If the space between the speaker and the microphone is really, really large, you're going to get a noticeable delay. If it's a little bit shorter, you might get something phasing or flanging. Let's try a few out. You can hear that this is the dry signal. And this is with the direct signal. So we're getting that bit of delay. Let's find a bigger model here. So each one of those, as I was saying before, is going to give you a different, let me see, a warehouse. Yeah, so we're much further away here. We've got 24 meters between the speaker and the microphone. Not only that, but the speakers aren't pointed directly at the microphone, so some of the sound is actually going to be coming in quite late. And that's reflected in sort of the delay there. That's almost like a pre-delay, but that's not what that is. The pre-delay is actually going to be putting a pause on the reverberation before it's triggered. It's a little bit complicated to wrap your head around, but nonetheless, it's very, very cool. One way you could do it is could put it on 100% wet and then just use these like you would early reflection control, late reflection control, and then you could just use this as your dry signal. It might be a better way to do it, unless you want to have that fourth signal being the dry one. So anyway, back to this balance here. When you have a left-right setup for the microphone setup, this will be the left-right balance between the sound. So again, let me just come in and get a reverb that sounds good. Okay, so now we can apply the left-right balance because we have a left-right microphone setup. And again, if we were on a mid-side setup like this one here, we're actually going to be balancing between the mid signal or the centered audio and the side audio or the stereo audio. So a good technique for something like this is to have your early reflections being in the middle and then your late reflections being completely on the side, and you'll get some really interesting results this way as well. Is that not really, really cool? So not only do you have 144 models at your disposal, but once you start getting in and tweaking the balance between the direct, early, and late, and even furthermore the dry and the wet, you really got a lot of control over the sound itself and how it's created and how it's reverberating in the virtual space. Of course, as I already mentioned, you do have two pre-delay controls, one for the early and one for the late reflections. That's really good on something like drums or something with a lot of pluck, like these piano could probably use a little bit of that just to make sure things are really clean. And then over here we have a tilt EQ, which can be turned on or turned off. And what this is, there is a middle point wherever the frequency is set here. So if I'm at 1K, there'll be a single node there, and then I can either go plus or minus 12 dB. And that's going to be on the right side of the slope. So if I go plus here, we're going to get a brighter signal. And if I go minus here, we're going to get a darker, more subdued signal. So then from there, we have a low cut option. And what's really cool about this is we can just cut the side material below, say, if you actually look down here, you can see whatever it is. You know, if I'm right around here, I'm 175 hertz. I'm just going to cut the side material or the stereo audio to keep my audio signal very, very clean. You can go up to 1 kilohertz here, and you can cut both the side and the mid or just bypass them both. So this is the master output section. This is where you're going to do your final sculpting before the audio leaves the plugin here, and everything else in between is just sculpting the sound and getting it perfect. Let's check out how I used it on this top line here. And as you can see here, I've kind of favored the one where the speaker's up and to the right and the microphones are in the middle of the room. Again, this is all just changing the character of the sound. So it might be pretty cool if you did this one and then had the opposite reflective one on the piano. In fact, let me try that out. I'm doing this on the fly here. I apologize, but I think this would be pretty cool. So I got Bright Stage S1. Let's come in here. Okay, so at Bright Stage S3 is the mirror reflection of this one. So now let's listen to those two and see how they play with each other or how they interact. That's actually really, really cool. It's really separating the reverbs, or at least it makes it sound like, you know, they're in different spaces in the room, and it's that's really, really cool. I highly suggest checking that out and doing that with different elements in your mix, because I've just done that, just thought about doing that now, and I'm already really impressed. It might be even cooler just to make sure that everything is exactly the same and then just flip one on the other. It'd be really, really cool. But I'm not going to spend too much time on that right now. That's just something for you to think about in the future. So let's talk about presets. Ton of presets. You click the preset menu right here. You can cycle through them over here. And when you go to a preset, it's going to choose a new model maybe, or it might just stay with the same one. It's going to adjust all your different parameters. It's going to give you different pre-delays, the balance between the direct, early, late, the dry-wet balance as well. Though, if, say, you're using this on your return track, you can easily lock it down at 100% wet. And then as you flip through presets, that will stay 100% wet. Very, very helpful. You also have big, large, medium, small, and tiny, and then you have the brightness, could be high, low, or medium. That's going to be affected by that tilt EQ and the low cut over here. So for something like drums, I would stick probably around medium. These are pretty bongo-y, so it might even be bigger, but let's just check a few out. Let's check out some large ones. So cool. Let's check out some big ones too. Let's check out some small and tiny ones and then wrap up the video. Such a cool plugin. I really actually dig this. I like how it's unique. I like all of the different variety in terms of the models here. I like that it's not traditional in the way I think about making reverb with my plugins. I dig it. It's unique. It's creating some really, really lush sounds, and you have a bunch of control, but you're not being bogged down with too many options. Spacerek is brand new. It came out yesterday. Highly suggest checking it out. Click the link in the video description. I'm Joshua Casper. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.